Hello, everyone, and welcome to lesson number 7 in our substance use prevention lecture series. Lesson number 7 is treatment and resources. My name is Amanda. I'm a health education and health promotion student at Arizona State University. And if you have any questions, you can reach me on any of the social media pages, or you can comment under the lecture videos on YouTube, and I will get back to you. Our topic for lesson 7 is treatment and resources for substance use order. So this is lecture 7 of the 12 lecture series, and we are going to be talking about treatment methods as well as resources to find treatment in this lesson. Here we see our student learning objectives for lesson number 7. We have 6 of them for this lesson. Our first student learning objective is participants will be able to define and explain one medical and one therapeutic treatment option for substance use disorder in writing with 100% accuracy. Our second student learning objective is participants will be able to define intervention in writing with 100% accuracy. The next objective is participants will be able to explain 2 forms of therapy that may be used as treatment for substance use disorder in writing with 100% accuracy. Following that, participants will be able to generate an example of a treatment source located locally to them in writing with 100% accuracy. Our fifth student learning objective is participants will be able to explain in writing one benefit of medication in the treatment of substance use disorder with 100% accuracy. And then our final student learning objective, number 6, is participants will be able to advise treatment options for a case study presented during the lesson in writing with 100% accuracy. We see the summary for lesson number 7. This is what we're going to be covering in kind of just an outline so you know what to expect for this lesson. Our first topic is going to be recognizing the disease. We're going to have a reflection and one written assignment under that topic. Following that, we'll move into treatment methods. There will be a reflection and 2 written assignments for that topic. And then lastly, we'll have finding treatment and resources, and we'll have a reflection and 2 written assignments for that topic as well. After we cover these 3 topics, we're going to just do a brief review of the material that we learned in lesson 7. We'll go over all of the written assignments, and then we will end our lesson with the independent practice assignment, which is optional. So let's take a moment to think about what we know about treatment and resources for substance use disorder. Think about ways that substance use disorder might be treated. Do you already know any treatment methods? If you don't, can you take a moment to just imagine any? What do you think the best or most effective method of treating substance use disorder might be? Just take a moment and pause the lecture just for a few moments and reflect on this. And when you're ready, press play and we can move into our first topic. Our first topic is recognizing the disease. And we're going to start this topic off by looking at recovery. What is recovery, you might ask? Well, recovery is the process of change which allows people to improve their health and their lives. Features of recovery include abstinence from all substance at minimum. So that's the abstinence from all the substances is absolutely required for recovery from substance use disorder. Other people also consider these following attributes features of recovery as well, and that's handling negative feelings without the use of substances, as well as living a contributive and enjoyable life. So that's contributing to their community, enjoying their life, feeling productive, feeling a sense of accomplishment, things like that. So I'll just reiterate here for a moment that abstinence from substances is absolutely required. And then many people also find that these two topics, handling negative feelings and being able to process and cope with those without the use of substances, as well as living an enjoyable and productive life, is also features. We're going to talk a little bit about recognizing the disease and why that is important in the treatment of substance use. Recognizing the problem is generally considered to be the first step in one's recovery. So most people consider recognizing or admitting that they have substance use disorder, at least they have a problem with their substance use. That would be the first step. It's very challenging for individuals to enter into treatment or enter into recovery if they don't believe that it's necessary because they don't have a problem. They don't have substance use disorder. So this is a very important step in the treatment process, is understanding and recognizing the problem usage that's going on. Now, health professionals can help to recognize the disorder, the presence of the disorder. So they may conduct a formal assessment to determine if substance use disorder is present in an individual. There's a variety of screening tools that can be found on the National Institute of Drug Abuse's website, which I'll present to you later on in the end of the lecture during the resources section. You can also find these tools elsewhere on the internet if you're interested in finding them. I just recommend using a reliable source, and the National Institute of Drug Abuse is a reliable source. Now, health professionals can conduct the formal assessment. Sometimes the individual may recognize it on their own, and then sometimes an intervention is used to bring attention to and awareness to one's disordered drug use. What is an intervention? An intervention is when loved ones of the addict structurally approach the individual in a direct heart-to-heart conversation about the consequences of their drug use. So let's take a moment and break that definition down, because it is it's a bit longer than some of the other definitions that we've seen so far. So key points of this: the intervention is usually performed by loved ones. So that could be family or friends. It's structurally approached. So the loved ones, it's most beneficial when the loved ones kind of structuralize or plan out their heart-to-heart or their intervention. They don't. It's more advantageous for them to kind of plan it out and figure out how they're going to approach the individual in advance. Because it is an important matter to them. Of course, the loved ones are concerned with the addict's use, their behavior, they're likely concerned about their future and their health, both emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. The conversation usually consists of a direct heart-to-heart, where the family members explain what the substance use is doing to the individual, as well as how it's affecting them as well. And it's important to be direct in this conversation so that the subject, the person suffering from substance use disorder, really understands what's going on. Being direct in this conversation is much better than being indirect or kind of beating around the bush. And of course, it centers around the consequences of their drug use, both for the addict and for the loved ones as well. Now, it's very advisable that doctors, drug counselor, or maybe an intervention professional be present, and they can help facilitate this conversation. So they are able to, they're professionals, they've been trained, doctors, drug counselors, intervention professionals have been trained in how to structurally approach the situation, what to say, what motivators might, what things might motivate the person who's suffering from substance use to understand that there is a problem, which can be challenging for the addict because it's common for them not to understand that they understand or recognize. It might be challenging for them to understand that that they're suffering from substance use disorder. Now, in some cases, the patient might be aware of their disorder, but may be unable to stop their drug use even when the desire to do so is present. And we've seen this kind of hinted at in the other lectures, talking about one of our very common recognizable characteristics of substance use disorder being being attempts at cessation or attempts to stop, but those attempts being unfruitful. So the addict tries to stop using their drugs, but they're unable to do so, or they fail at their attempts. So in some cases, the individual may be aware, they may be very cognizant of the fact that they have the disorder, but for some reason they're unwilling or unable to stop, even though they really would like to. So we just took a moment to look at recovery from substance use disorder, important factors in recognizing the presence of the disease, and intervention. So I'd like you to take a moment and just reflect on all this information that's just been presented. Which aspect of recovery seems most important to you? Perhaps it's recognizing the problem. Perhaps it's being willing or able to even have attempts at cessation. I'd also like you to take a moment to think about what we learned about interventions as well. Do you think that an intervention is an effective way to use to get someone to understand that they may have a substance use disorder? If you do think so, why? If you don't think so, why not? Please comment your answers below the lecture video and discuss with other participants, comment and interact with each other on your thoughts here. And here we see our first written assignment of the lecture. The written assignment is to define intervention in the comment section below the lecture video. Remember that you can post your answers on Instagram or Facebook as well if you'd like. Here I have the Instagram and Facebook website pages or addresses. If you haven't subscribed to them already, we have Substance Abuse Prevention 123. There's no spaces there. And then for Facebook, it's the same thing, but with spaces. Substance Abuse Prevention 123. Well, now that we've covered recovery and recognized the presence of substance use disorder, we're going to move into treatment methods. Medication, therapy, or a combination of both of those treatment methods can be prescribed to those suffering on an individual basis. So one method is medication, one method is therapy, or they might use a combination of both. And these methods are prescribed on an individual basis, which means that depending on each case, the health professional that's working with a substance, the person suffering from substance use disorder, may be prescribed either medication therapy or both, based off of their very particular their needs and their own circumstances. So addict A may be prescribed medication, while addict B may be prescribed therapy, and yet addict C is prescribed a combination of both medication and therapy because they all have different circumstances within their lives. Now, research shows, however, that a combination of both methods promotes the most success in many individuals. So I'll reiterate it again. For each individual, different methods of therapy or medication, different treatment methods may be prescribed, but according to research, in most cases, not necessarily all, the combination of both medication and therapy will be the most, will provide the addict with the most chance of success in their recovery. And regardless of the methods used, whether it's medication or therapy, treatment should address all of the individual's medical, psychiatric, and social problems. So these are very important aspects of the individual's recovery, medical, psychiatric, and social problems. So we can see here how medication and therapy, the combination of the two, would work together to address all three of these aspects of the individual's disorder. So now we're going to take a look at the benefits of medication. We're going to hone in on medication specifically. Medications can be used to relieve severe withdrawal symptoms, and they can also be used to control cravings. Now, in previous lectures, if you recall, we learned that withdrawal symptoms are symptoms of physical illness in the absence of the substance. So when the addict stops using their drug of choice or the drug that they're addicted to, they may experience a variety of physical ailments. And some medications have been created to actually lessen or almost completely remove these symptoms for the person suffering, which increases their chances of continuing to abstain from use or continuing not to use their substance, so they don't feel physical illness, sick. And these medications are most commonly designed for specific withdrawal symptoms. So a person who is experiencing withdrawal from alcohol will be given a different medication from a person who's experiencing withdrawal from opioid painkillers or heroin, for example. And just to reiterate, some of the medications can be given to control cravings. These medications are usually similar to what we were talking about with the withdrawal symptoms, are usually designed for a specific substance. And this can prevent the addict from experiencing cravings. And in a previous lecture, we looked at cravings. And if you recall, that cravings are the intense desire to use the substance. Now let's hone in on therapy for a moment and just specifically look at therapy, the other treatment method that we have been discussing. Therapy can be administered in multiple different settings. We can see it administered in an individual or group setting. This could be small group, large group, and then we see individual as well. That would be one-on-one with a therapist, a drug counselor, some type of health professional. And then in a group setting, we would see a number of people who are experiencing substance use disorder, doing therapy together. Sometimes therapy is done both individually and in a group setting. Sometimes it's prescribed just one or the other. Regardless of which method is used, whether it's therapy, medication, or a combination of the both, it should always be viewed as ongoing. So there's a kind of saying that substance abuse disorder isn't curable, but it's treatable, which means that after after a certain period of time within recovery, treatment still needs to be administered. Now, treatment plans can be reviewed. They should be reviewed often and can be revised or adjusted according to the individual's needs. So that could mean changing medication, stopping medication, increasing medication. It could be doing less therapy, doing more therapy. It could be that the individual starts off with intense therapy, which is provided very often, and then they are prescribed less therapy as time goes on, but perhaps maybe they're prescribed more later. The health professionals that work with the person suffering from substance use disorder will review the patient's treatment often and will adjust it as needed. So let's take a moment to reflect on everything that we just covered regarding treatment for substance use disorder and their methods. Why do you think it's recommended for both methods of treatment to be utilized? And when I say that, I mean both medication and therapy in conjunction or together. What do you think the benefits of medication treatment are? What do you think the benefits of therapy are? Do you think that you would prefer individual or group therapy if you were prescribed to go to a therapy session? Do you think that they offer different advantages? If so, what do you think they are? I'd love for you to comment your thoughts and your answers to these questions below the lecture video and discuss them with other participants under the lecture video. And this takes us to our first written assignment for the topic of treatment methods. I would like for you to explain 2 forms of therapy that may be used as treatment for substance use disorder in the comment section below the lecture video. You can also comment your answers on the Instagram or Facebook pages as well, and we have our addresses here if you need to be reminded. And then our second written assignment for treatment methods. Please explain one benefit of medication in the treatment of substance use disorder in the comment section below the lecture video. Same thing, you can always post your comments, your answers to Instagram or Facebook, and I've listed the addresses for those pages as well. Now we're going to move on to our third and final topic for Lesson 7, which is finding treatment and resources. In previous lessons, we've seen that substance use disorder is rather prevalent in the United States, so naturally there are many ways to find treatment sources. There's a number of resources that we can use, whether it be websites, phone lines, hotlines, or even reaching out to your healthcare provider and they might recommend a treatment resource as well. Word of mouth is also a way to find treatment resources. Today we're going to look at one tool that can be used to find treatment facilities in any area located in the United States. This is the SAMHSA, Behavioral Health Treatment Services Locator website, which is kind of a mouthful, but that's okay. SAMHSA stands for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So this website here, Find Treatment, SAMHSA, .gov can has that's the address for the actual services locator tool. So right now we're going to go through the process of using this tool step by step. And take notes if you need to, or just pay attention to each step because you will be asked to do this later on in one of the writing assignments. Step 1 is to go to the website. Very simple. You just type in findtreatment.samhsa.gov and it will take you to the website. And this I've inserted screenshots so that you can see what it looks like here. Here's the website right here. So that's step 1, super simple. In fact, all of the steps are super simple. Step 2 is to just type in your address or your zip code. Your city or state would also work. Here I've picked a zip code located close to where I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I just type in, click in the search bar here, and I typed in the zip code for the area that I wanted to find treatment sources in. Step 3 is to click the Search Facilities button. After you have your zip code entered right here, the Search Facilities button is blue. You click on the button. And then all of the services for treatment and treatment locations in the area pop up. As you can see, there's a legend here where you can see what types of service are provided at each location. We've got locations that specialize in substance use, locations that specialize in mental health, healthcare centers and facilities, and then practitioners that are licensed to be able to prescribe medication for treatment. So the last step is to just explore the list of the services in the area and decide what type of service you're looking for and which service locations would meet your needs. On the left side of the screen, we have a map of all of the locations, and on the right side of the screen, we have it listed as well, so you can kind of choose which you prefer. Okay, let's just pause for a moment and reflect on everything that we just saw with the SAM HSA tool. Did you think that it was easy to use? Did you have any issues using the website? Did you encounter any problems? What ways do you think the website could be better? Or do you think the website is perfect as is? What did you like about it and what did you dislike about it? Comment your thoughts and your answers underneath the lecture video and feel free to discuss it with other participants. Our first written assignment for this section is to generate an example of a treatment source located locally to you in the comment section below the lecture video. Now, if you are not comfortable posting that treatment source on the internet because you don't want people to know the area which you live, which is totally acceptable, pick a different location. If you live in Philadelphia, then maybe pick a location in LA. That's totally acceptable. I would like you to pick a specific city. If you choose to do it locally, you can post that if you want. But pick a location and then find a treatment resource in that location. As always, you can post your answer in the comment section below the lecture video or on the Instagram and Facebook pages as well. There are addresses. The second written assignment for this section is a case study assignment. So after I'll present the case study to you on the next slide, and the written assignment is to advise treatment methods based on what you see in the case study. Recall that you can comment your answers in the comment section below the video or on the Instagram and Facebook pages. Addresses over here. And here we have our case study. In our case study, we see that your friend Jack is an 18-year-old male student. He's a senior in high school. Jack has been using several different substances for the past 4 years, recreationally. About a year ago, Jack developed a physical dependence to opioid painkillers. Jack has noticed that he spends all of his paycheck on buying drugs. He dropped off the basketball team so that he could spend more time being high. Jack has admitted to you that he believes that he is suffering from substance use disorder. Now, your assignment is to answer these following questions. What treatment methods do you recommend to him, and what advice would you give to him about finding treatment? Now that we've covered all 3 of our topics, let's take a moment to review everything that we've covered in Lesson 7. Recovery is the process of change which allows people to improve their health and their lives. Recognition of the problem is generally considered the first step in one's recovery. An intervention is when loved ones of the addict structurally approach the individual in a direct heart-to-heart conversation about the consequences of their drug use. And recall that it's very advisable that a health professional or substance use professional be present for that intervention. A combination of medication and therapy promotes the most success. Treatment should be viewed as ongoing and reviewed and revised often. And lastly, recall that the SAM-HSA has a tool that can be used to locate treatment resources in any area within the United States. Here we have a review of our written assignments for Lesson 7. The first one is to define intervention. Secondly, explain 2 forms of therapy that may be used as treatment for substance use disorder. Number 3 is explain 1 benefit of medication in the treatment of substance use disorder. Number 4 is generate an example of treatment source that is located near you. Remember that you can choose another area if you don't want to post your where your neighborhood is on the internet. Or you can use your location and direct message it to me if you'd like. And lastly, advise treatment options for the provided case study, and you can rewind the lecture to find that case study again if you need to. For these assignments, you can comment your answers beneath the lecture video. You can comment them on Instagram or Facebook posts that correspond with the assignments, or you can direct message them to me on the Instagram or Facebook pages as well. Here we see a list of resources that I use to find information regarding the treatment and resources for substance use disorder. If you're interested in any of these topics, these are good sources to find to begin your search to find more information. And lastly, we have our independent practice assignment, which is optional. In this independent practice assignment, I would like you to explain 1 medical and 1 therapeutic treatment option for substance use disorder. You can do this in writing, you can do it in a poster or a picture or an infographic. It's totally up to you. You can be as creative or uncreative as you'd like. You can submit this assignment by posting it to social media and tagging the Instagram or Facebook page, or by direct message to me in the Instagram or Facebook page. Additionally, if you decide to explain the medical and therapeutic treatment options in writing, you could also comment these under the lecture video on YouTube. And that is the end of lecture 7. So I hope that you got a lot out of this lecture. Tune in to lesson 8, where we will be covering social norms and expectations of substance use.